Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankara Sharya Madhyamam Asmada Sharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishwara Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Yom Abda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Vedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Merry Christmas to everyone. Here comes Karen. And let's begin with our meeting, our Q&A Satsang. So we can begin. I haven't seen any question written by email. Has anyone written any email question? No. So if we
Orlando?
don't, yes, Karen, hello.
Hi, good morning.
You look very enlightened.
I know, I can't, and the sun's in a spot where I can't block it out right now in one of our high windows. I did email you a question. Do you have it?
Okay, I will find it right away. When did you do that?
Just, let's see, last evening. So,
okay.
I don't know, 12 hours.
I had to travel the entire day. I got here so late last night. I collapsed.
Oh gosh.
All of that to enjoy Christmas with family, which is something that hasn't happened for a long time. Let me see your email here.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Karen. So this is my question. If we are not individuals, as consciousness, how do we live in samsara? So if we are not individuals as consciousness, how do we live in samsara? As individuals striving to know consciousness, do we strive for more equanimity and being more neutral in our emotions, less reactive and more responsive? Is this being more sattvic, less rajasic and tamasic? So there are a few questions in one question. So if we can begin, there is anything else to be added to that, Karen?
No.
Okay. So you say, if we are not individuals as consciousness, so when you say as consciousness, you mean to say that I know I am consciousness and I'm not an individual, right? So yes. I understood. Mm-hmm. I understood that the only reality is my conscious awareness existence, right? This is the only reality. I know that. And I know that I am not an individual. So therefore, how can I happen to be living here in samsara if I'm not an individual? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So consciousness is not an entity because it is attributeless. It is, right. It's not a configuration that is brought about through Maya and Ishwara. It is not manifest. There is a manifestation of the universe as a projection within consciousness, which is what you say you are. I am consciousness, I'm not an individual, but yet, how do I live in samsara? Right? So you live in samsara because samsara being an apparent order of reality, a superimposition, a projection, it exists, but it's not really real. So since samsara come into place, and then there you appear as a body-mind complex. But you have the knowledge, I'm not an individual, as consciousness. When you say, I'm not an individual as consciousness, you are saying that although I appear as not as an individual, I know that I am consciousness. I know that I appear as an entity called Jiva, like an individual who is designed to experience, know, and respond to the stimulus coming from the environment. So you say, as consciousness, I know I'm not an individual. Therefore, how do I live in samsara? You live in samsara through this apparent individual, which is not real. You understand? How do you, consciousness, lives, interacts in samsara, in mithya? It's only possible by the use of the agent, of the equipment, of the instrument called the body-mind complex. Without the body-mind complex, you cannot function in samsara, right?
Right.
Can you give me a moment? Because I asked the lady in the kitchen, they are preparing Christmas dinner. Can you hear them talking? I will ask them to
Just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
It's not disturbing, not disturbing anybody? Okay. Let's take it to be a Christmas sound. Christmas song. So how do you experience, how do you live in mithya? So you said samsara. Samsara, Karen, is a psychological condition. Okay?
Oh, it's not the same as mithya?
No, there is a technical, subtle distinction.
Okay.
Because the Jnani is the one who understood and resolved the problem of samsara. Samsara is consciousness appearing as an individual, living under the spell of avidya, ignorance, in respect to the true nature of the universe, the true nature of the individual jiva, the true nature of ishwara, the true nature of Jagat. Samsara is the individual, the person that lives in mithya, totally unaware of the true nature of things here. Okay, samsara is avidya, is the experience of the jiva living under the spell of avidya, who believes that this physical, tangible, material reality, and also the subtle universe of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, believing that it's all real. And it believes, she believes, he believes, that it's only through the interaction with this world of objects that freedom, security, and satisfaction can be obtained. Why it's called samsara? Because once you believe that this is all real, and it is by the means of interacting with the world of objects that freedom, satisfaction, the security can be gained, and then you are trapped in a psychological condition called samsara, the wheel of samsara, which is more clearly described as vasanas, that appears as desires, tendencies to think, feel, say, and act in a certain way, actions that are going to reinforce vasanas or slightly modify some vasanas. These vasanas, desires, thoughts, words, and deeds that's going to feed into one's vasana load. This is samsara, seen from the angle, from the standpoint of the individual jiva. So what is samsara? Samsara is the belief that duality is reality, that the objects are real, and it's by the means of gaining a void object that I can find freedom and true happiness and satisfaction. This is samsara. It's a psychological condition that is properly described in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, okay? All those mental disturbance and confusion and depression that in the end destroys the mind of the individual, All of that is called samsara. Okay? So, whereas mithya is the world of duality, of plurality, diversity of names, colors, and forms that appears within our consciousness, and they persist appearing even after the samsari becomes a yani, even when the yani understands that consciousness is the only reality and everything else is just a projection. It enjoys a certain apparent existence which is bound by time. So even after the yani has this clear understanding, mithya does not disappear. You understand? Samsara can disappear. Samsara is the belief that reality is duality. Okay? Did you get this distinction, Karen?
Um,
Or not?
it's confusing to me. I'm trying to get the distinction.
Okay, then I'm gonna go slower.
Okay.
Does anybody find it confusing? Anybody else? Okay.
Well, I was going to say before you go, it's like is like are you saying though that like mithya is always there? So then that's how to differentiate it from consciousness. So but mithya is not limitless. It's not, has no beginning. I had the sense that mithya could have an end. I mean, the projection could stop, and consciousness would go on. It's that there could be a time when there is no mithya.
Yeah, when we say that the scriptures say that mithya is beginningless and endless, mithya exists forever, either manifest as the cosmos, the universe of name, colors, and forms, or unmanifest as seed form, as potential form. So it may appear manifest as the universe, which is often referred to the day of Brahman, but it can also exist in its potential form. The same way the tree is contained in a very tiny small seed. When circumstances are favorable, the environment is favorable, the small tiny seed develops to become a huge, hundreds of years old tree, okay? So the universe always exists because mithya, everything that exists in mithya is cyclical. It's not linear. There is no time because everything is cyclical, okay? So mithya exists forever. What can be ended is samsara, or in other words, avidya. Avidya or samsara is the belief that this superimposition of name, colors, and forms, which appears in the mind, does not exist apart from original consciousness. Remember, the mind is reflect consciousness. This reflect consciousness is the person, is the jiva, and he can capture whatsoever superimposition projects come, and he is knowing and experience that. And this mind, this jiva, is not apart from consciousness. Reflect consciousness, it somehow enjoys the same nature as original consciousness, as light of consciousness alone. We have gone through this teaching several times. So the jiva is going to perceive the world, okay? And then when he understands this world to be just a projection, and then the belief, the blind belief that reality of name, colors, and forms is reality, and the belief that I need to run to gain, run to avoid in order to establish my satisfaction, happiness, peace, and freedom. This is a trap. It's a trap that slaves and bounds people to the samsara chakra. Okay, samsara chakra, the cycle that can be seen as life, death, and reincarnation, rebirth. Okay, this is a way to see samsara. Ramji likes to present samsara as a very, very simple cycle, which he presents from the microcosmic level from the jiva, which is vasanas, desires, words and deeds, which is going to feed into my vasana load. You understand that? From the microcosm and from the macrocosm. Okay, so we can see samsara as a phenomenon, a cyclical phenomenon in which the souls, the human souls, get trapped by due to this cosmic ignorance called avidya, which is building into this universe. You understand? So the first thing is to make this distinction between samsara and mithya. So when this ignorance is resolved, is removed, so samsara disappears for the jnani. What is moksha? Moksha is freedom from samsara. But freedom from samsara does not mean freedom from mithya. Because when the jnani wakes up in the morning, everything is still the same. But the belief, the blind belief that this is all real was removed. The blind belief that, I have to, go about trying to gain and avoid in a way so that I can finally get this infinite, permanent freedom and happiness. So that belief is gone with self-knowledge. So what gets destroyed is avidya, is samsara, is, this universal ignorance or self-ignorance. But what persists is mithya, because mithya belongs to ishwara, Ishwara makes the projection. You see, the twilight in the late afternoon is going to produce the misapprehension of the rope as a snake. So what has created the snake over the rope? It was certain conditions that belongs to the laws of the universe, you understand? Applies an association with the traveler walking by. His own vasana project the snake because he had fear in regards to snake, okay? So ultimately, the traveler can destroy, he may destroy for himself the snake over the rope, but he cannot destroy the rope. You understand? And he cannot destroy the snake that other travelers are going to superimpose on the rope, because all of that belongs to mind, ishwara, and the subjectivity of each one of our jivas. So avidya is ignorance can be destroyed, but the snake, but the rope and the project snake, they are going to remain available for experience and ignorance, wrong knowledge, the knowledge of superimpose the snake over the rope. You understand? So mithya remains, but the ignorance is going to be destroyed. The rope is going to remain, but the snake disappeared for the one who understood it. But it remains there potentially to deceive all other travelers. You understand this analogy, Karen?
Yes, I do. Yes.
I'm sorry, my brother has a beautiful beer factory here of handcraft beer, and my breakfast was beer today, so I'm a little bit high.
That's funny.
I'm kidding, just a half a glass. I'm a little bit high because I drank too much coffee. Yes, Roots. I don't do palm reading. You can see that I'm a little funny today, huh?
So is ishwara ultimately a projection too?
No, ishwara, it's not a projection. Ishwara is an understanding we have. We can say it's a concession that the Vedas present us with to explain the creation which exists but does not really exist. You understand? So Ishwara is a knowledge revealed by consciousness through ishwara and through the rish that helps us to understand how mithya works. And by understand the laws governing mithya, so people can develop a lifestyle which is, I like to call, a spiritual religious lifestyles, which is conducive to mental purification, refinement, which is conducive to self-knowledge, to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Okay, so is Ishwara real? That is the final teachings. The final teachings are going to reject Ishwara as just another lie, another apparent figure. But then it's going to reject the Jiva as real as well. You know, Eva is going to reject Jagat as real as well. None of this is real. When we go to the bottom of things, they even say they don't really exist. You understand? The same way that the projection of a mirage on the sand, the desert sand, exists but does not exist. The same way Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat exist but do not exist. So what you want to do about Ishwara at this point, Ruth? I mean, you see, this is a good question because a lot of people bring it up. So is Ishwara, is God just a projection of human beings? I mean, yes and no.
Well, in a sense, yes. In a sense, yes. But as you say, it's really a concept that organizes karma and the laws of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, we know.
Not a single entity.
Yeah. It's not an individual. It's not a person.
Right.
It's not anything personal. It's an impersonal principle. When we come to Vedanta, we need to understand God or Ishwara from a different angle, which is very subtle. We need to understand Ishwara as the totality of the universe manifests. But then we have to go beyond that. We have to understand God as the very laws and intelligence. You understand? The laws, knowledge. This universe is maintained, it's projected and maintained by pure knowledge. So, and then you understand Ishwara as the intelligence, the laws, the knowledge that projects, sustains, and recycles it on a moment-to-moment basis. Jesus, the true vision of Ishwara, the efficient, intelligent cause, the energetic cause, the material cause, and the universe manifests. And this is a living being, which is not embodied in a jiva body of flesh, but it's the body of this being is pure knowledge. Is the fabric of the universe is Ishwara, you understand? Ishwara is very subtle because fundamentally Ishwara is Sattva, the Sattva energy, you know? Sattva, that which, you know, brings forth rajas and tamas, and then boom, the whole universe begins being structured and maintained, in which the jivas appear and so on. So none of this is real, but Ishwara is the creator. And how we know that? Because we cannot have an apparent creation without an apparent creator. When we come to Vedanta, we understand this is all apparent. But we cannot have an apparent creation without an apparent creator. None comes from non-existence. You understand? Everything here is cyclical. So understanding Ishwara and developing a proper relationship with Ishwara is key. Ramji says again and again that understanding my Ishwara is the key for self-knowledge. Because if we reject Ishwara and Maya and Ishwara, and we just want to hold on to the notion of I am consciousness, everything is consciousness, and I'm already ever free, and so on, This knowledge usually does not convince the human intellect unless this human intellect, are you with me, Ruth? Unless this human intellect has gone through a process, by which it becomes very subtle, very scientific, very refined and purified, and the best way, the most natural way to process this level of preparedness is through the understanding of Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagata, in which way Jiva relates to Ishwara, in which way all these three principles relate to the only reality, which is consciousness, awareness.
So if we have a bhakti practice and you're using some image, that's all projection. But as you say, it's more sattvic.
Yes. So if we have a devotional temperament, as I always had, okay, so we need to channel this devotion temperament to some object of devotion. So in the past, I was channeling to my gurus. You understand, which is very common in the West. Why? Because in the West, people do not relate much to this idea of God. You understand? They prefer to relate to an idea of Shakti, energy, and Guru. So, but when we have a devotion for God as one of these deities, yeah, which are so common in the Vedic culture, so we are having a devotion channeled to a symbol of Brahman, appearing as Krishna, Shiva, Narayan, Govinda, whatsoever. Those are symbols or representatives of God or Brahman. So it is a positive and valid attitude to begin with, but it needs to be transcended. You understand? Because all these devotions, they help the ego. Because when we are devoted to any symbol of God, what's happening to the ego when he starts devoting to a higher power, let's call God? He starts bringing God into the equation of life. And this arrogance of the ego that I am the center of my universe and I am the responsive, I am the doer, I am the thinker, I am the control, all this infantile attitude, this childish arrogance is going to be gradually diminished. Why? Because he's devoting, he's bringing God into his perspective in the equation of one's life, and he's acknowledging there is a higher power here, and there is a higher power, and nothing happens with these higher powers, favor or participation, and then one starts expanding and refining one's mind, and this understanding of God and his higher power begins becoming more and more subtle, more and more amplified, until we come to the very subtle levels of devotion to Ishwara as Brahman, which is the substratum of Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat. So whatsoever our object of devotion, it's all good because it begins wearing down the arrogance of the infantile ego, who thinks, I don't need anything, I don't need anybody. The most dangerous level of devotion to an object of devotion is to these modern gurus that we find in the West. Because when you begin devoting your energy, time, and money to these gurus, there is a lot of room for being misled. But all of that is also part of one's process, of one's journey, you understand? So a lot of people have to go through years and years, sometimes decades, of devoting all their love, attention, energy, and money to gurus that were not real gurus. They are just people who are playing the profession of leading others, So
It's certainly true in the Christian tradition as well. I mean, look at the wealth of the church and the the big Christian churches. So
yeah, look what happened to the Vatican nowadays. You know?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is blind faith. That's why we are so fortunate to come to Vedanta, because when we come to the Vedanta, I mean, our devotion goes to what? It goes to the knowledge behind, Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, Vedanta. So we are devoted to the knowledge, not devoted to a deity. When we come to become a religious person, we see in the Vedic context, and then we say, oh yes, my guru is Krishna, my guru is this, my guru is that, and I do my pujas, my rituals, and when I meditate, I do my upasana, focusing on the image of my deity, So this is all good for beginners. When we come to Vedanta, we pass over that stage, and then our devotion becomes being channeled to what? To the scriptures. And the scriptures were revealed by consciousness. We are devoted to knowledge, to the scriptures, and we know that the guru is not there to be adored. Have you ever seen one of these Vedantic gurus or teachers being put on a pedestal in the door? This thing does not happen in Vedanta, in the true Vedanta circle, because all devotion goes to the scriptural knowledge, which was revealed, and the honest gurus say, none of this is mine. I'm just a link. I'm just a facilitator for others to understand this knowledge that liberates and frees the jiva, etc., etc. So our devotion is usually not to God, but it's not to say that all religions serve no purpose at all, because religions at least presents the populations with a notion of what's right and what's wrong. You understand? And that somehow it puts a break on the ignorance that otherwise would compel people to do anything to fulfill their desires. So the religions impose certain break their certain filter, because it says, no, if you do this and this, you go to hell. And then people, I better behave a little bit. And then the society comes and says, yes, and we are together with the religious structure. We say that if you do things, you are not only going to burn in hell, but before you go to hell, you go to prison. And then people say, oh my God, and now we have these people telling me that I cannot go crazy and wild about just taking what I want at any cost. You understand? So these things, they are not altogether bad, because otherwise human beings could have gone crazy long ago, in the terms of really making a mess out of the environment, although we are not far from getting there in any case.
I was going to say that's debatable.
Are we moving on, or another question? You brought this up several times, and you talked about Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat. And I keep getting tripped up on Jagat. And for instance, why isn't that the equivalent of mithya? Or how is it different? And why does the term exist? So could you say more about that, relative to this conversation?
So when we call Jagat, we are referring to mithya, this universe manifest physically, materially as we know it, okay? So Jagata is nothing but the universe manifest, the cosmos manifest, okay? The totality of all objects in the universe, the totality of the space and all objects contained in the space. So that is the world, Jagata, the environment, etc., etc., the cosmos. So, but when we use Jagat, we use Jagat in connection to Ishwara and Jiva to explain this trinity, because this manifestation is possible through Ishwara, and Ishwara makes use of the basic energies produced by Maya, by this macrocosm, causal body or mirror-like apparatus that brings forth Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So these three energies Sattva allows Ishwara comes, pure knowledge, and then Ishwara has the potential to manipulate these two other energies and combine them to develop the 5 subtle elements that later on they grossify, they develop into several other elements until it brings about the mineral, rain, the animal, and the vegetal, and everything that exists in the universe. Okay? So when we have this universe fully manifest, and then what we need? We need an entity to experience and to witness. So out of these projecting elements, the sense organs of these living creatures develop so that the universe can be captured, known, and experienced. The sense organs, they are all a development of the elements as they develop. If you have studied how the elements develop and grossify, and how the sense organs simultaneously develop so that the creation can be captured and known, you see the association of each one of our sense organs with its primary element, you understand? So all of this happens simultaneously, and then we have a complete creation in which Ishwara appears as the intelligent cause, pure Sattva. And then by manipulating Rajas and Tamas, it gets the energy to project the universe and the raw material that comes from Tamas, okay, in the macrocosmic realm as potential. With Rajas and Tamas, it begins develop the 5 elements, which later on grossifies to become the universe. So when it's totally manifested as we know it now, and then we have Ishwara manifest as Jagata. Okay, we have Ishwara manifest as the universe, and as we know, Ishwara is not separate or apart from the manifest universe, because it's almost as if it is an extension of Ishwara. It's from the subtler aspect of the creation, pure Sattva, and then it unfolds the energies become subtle matter grossify, and then when you see, they blend together in this cosmic soup, and then all objects of all sorts of configurations come into existence, okay? So it's from the very subtle to the denser, and everything is God, everything is Ishwara. When we say Jagata, we say Ishwara manifests as the world. So now going back to the Jiva, the entity who was designed to experience and know this Jagat, this universe, when he gets, due to karmic merits, when he gets the subtlety of mind to understand and to begin seeing, developing the vision of God, and then he starts seeing God as the manifestation of this universe, from the sand to the earth to the rocks, going through all the plants and vegetables, going through the fish, everything. One develops this vision. They say, oh my God, this is pure knowledge, pure beauty, pure intelligence. This is God manifest. This is God in 3 dimensions, you understand? So this is the attitude, the knowledge of karma and dharma that slowly develops to provide to the devotee, to the inquirer, to the seeker of moksha, this vision that everything is beautiful, everything is pure knowledge, intelligence. The miracle of life is God. So you can see that God is the manifest universe, you understand? But you understand that God is also its efficient, intelligent cause, and then the energy coming out of Vikshepa or Rajas is absolutely indispensable for the manifestation of this potential knowledge contained in the seed of the universe. So you understand everything, Tamas, and then you see that Jesus is all God, Jesus is all the miracle produced by God. So this has an incredible importance, in purifying the mind of the individual and calming it down until it can begin to inquiry into the substratum of Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat as the only reality. You understand? But we need to go through this process that Vedanta presents almost as a prerequisite called karma, dharma, and upasana. Upasana, Vedanta does not care much, but it makes a concession there.
Is it too simplistic to think that Jagata is the physical manifestation? And if so, then what about the thoughts as an object? Are they included in Jagata?
Thoughts are mental, emotional impressions, which are byproduct of consciousness reflect in the mind of the jiva, in contact with the physical, material, tangible universe, okay? That brings about these mental, emotional impressions, vasanas, you understand? Which brings about, which produce the mental, emotional world. The mental world is made of the impressions of all jivas' experience of the physical, tangible, material world. So if you look from the standpoint of the individual jiva, you yourself, you understand that your mental subjectivity, your mental world is nothing but impressions which was gained, from your interaction with the physical material world, which is a projection of Maya Ishwara, okay? So this is what defines what is the physical material world, the projection of Maya Ishwara, okay, Vyavaharika, and the world of the Jiva, which is Pratibhasika, which is nothing but the residual impressions that remained in my mind, as I go about contacting Vyavaharika, which is the projection of Maya Ishwara. You understand? So both these worlds, they are not real, okay? And both these worlds are Ishwara, but Ishwara does not produce the mental on its own. It requires all the jivas to produce those tendencies, vasanas. The jiva has an integral responsibility and part in creating this universe and maintaining, because it keeps interacting with the physical, material, tangible world and producing vasanas, tendencies, subject mental energies by which Ishwara is going to keep reshaping the world, bringing back to every jiva one's prarabdha karma. You understand? Reshaping the world according to this mental, subjective, collective reality called the macrocosm body of vasanas of all jivas. You understand? This is subtle, but it works more or less that way. The two orders of reality, Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika. And Pratibhasika feeds to Ishwara, and then Ishwara can reshape the field so that our prarabdha karmas, they are present to us based on Jiva's participation, as begins all with Jiva's actions, okay? All begins with Jiva's actions, which is going to produce vasanas, reinforcing vasanas or reshaping one vasanas, and these vasanas are going to feed the macrocosm body of vasanas, universal collective vasanas, which are going to be reshaping again the Vyavaharika, which is the manifestation of this physical universe as the parabada karma of all jivas. I don't know if we went too subtle or too vague on all of this. Did you understand, Lynn?
Yeah, I did. It's kind of amazing to me how powerful this force of Maya is. And I see my life as just being flotsam on this field of energy that's just rushing toward God knows what, or around us, samsara. But, and I keep thinking, I just want to get off. You know, and then the knowledge tells me I am off. I'm not a part of this.
Yeah.
I'm distinct, distinct may be the wrong word. I'm a sangha, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
we are association-less. Yeah, we are not associated with it, with consciousness is a sangha. But as in our secondary inferior nature, we cannot avoid but also contribute to this causal body by the means of our thoughts, deeds, and actions. You understand? So it means to say that even when we have this self-knowledge hard and fast and clear and solid, is still our actions are going to be feeding onto the system, you know. So to offset some of those very, very dark, bad, ignorant based vasanas. So we need good self-knowledge, spiritual vasanas to offset a little bit. So we need to give the raw material to Ishwara so that he can create an environment which is not going to be destroyed by this samsara, by these vasanas, you know. From the time of Osho Rajneesh on the 70s, he used to say, unless we have a lot of people getting awakening or enlightened, you know, I mean, we this whole experiment here in this planet may end up bad because, you know, so.
another wonderful thing about being on this Vedanta bus is that every little bit of knowledge creates a more loving relationship toward the field.
Yeah.
So it's like an automatic, even if, even on the pathless path, even on the path, the contributions increase to the field. Yeah. So it's a blessing.
Yeah. So we are in the path of knowledge, the path of understanding, which requires reflection and contemplation, and as it transforms ourselves, you know, we see more beauty and less ugliness in the world, and we begin impacting the world more positively with our love, you know, our respect, our generosity, our wisdom, you know, our smile, our love. So this is it's an avoid everything impacts everything else in media. You understand? Definitely. Yeah. I think I probably shared with you guys in the past. The first time I went to Tiruvannamalai was my first meeting with Ramji. On those days, he used to do those 3-week seminars in Tiru. And I went there 1 month earlier, and I stayed. I was in my honeymoon with the ashram, Ramana ashram. I was there as often as I could, enjoying all the pujas and everything. Several of the activities there. I was a fanatic because when I used to go there, my mind was like, you know. And then came the 3 weeks with Ramji. And then my mind became so sattvic, plus that spiritual environment of the Ramana ashram and all around the Ramana ashram as well there is devotion and religious temples and so on. I was just looking, and I have never experienced so much love for everything and everyone, so much compassion, and this sense of everything is so beautiful, and God is in everything, in the suffering, in the pleasure. So this is an example of a mind when it's really embedded in this religious spiritually knowledge that produces this vision of ishwara, not as a concept. God is not a concept. God is three-dimensional and manifest as the world. Right, David?
Jagat.
I love this idea of one of the benefits of knowledge and self-knowledge is the ability to create good vasanas that are that's adding to or improving the macrocosm. And so that's, the fact that the things that we're doing we're improving a lot for everyone.
It does. It does. Definitely, it does. But we need to stay focused that we want to do it mostly because we want to remove our own self-ignorance. We want to transform ourselves. We should not be doing it think that I do that for the others, because then we miss the point. Because the work must be done within ourselves, because the best way to impact others is by transforming ourselves. It's not by transforming the others first, and then later on, when I have time, I'm going to work on transforming myself. It does not work. Right, Claudio?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that part of Ramji's a little talk about swadharma?
You want me to say something about Swadharma? Or what?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what you were just talking about was
Oh,
about dharma. If you're seeking knowledge,
Yeah.
that is about, it's the work you do
Yeah.
with your own.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a nice subject that a lot of the people get a little confused sometimes, because originally, traditionally, Swadharma is to perform one's duty, okay? One's duty. It means to say, to sacrifice our personal desires and preference, in the name of the duty that I have to exercise within this or that context. You understand? So, which is not that easy to let go my likes and dislikes and to do what is right. So, Swadharma is to literally and traditionally is to stick to our duties, what in terms of society is expected by us in the sense in Arjuna case, what was his duty was to perform his role as the general, who was there to uphold Dharma and to protect society. So, and then we can come back and say yes, and he had to do that because that was his essential nature, secondary nature. It was his conditioning, his program. His program is a warrior program. Okay, that is okay. But the most important thing is to understand that that was his duty. It is the role in society that is expected by him. So Swadharma can be also interpreted by one's natural talents and tendencies. Yeah? A very common example is like, oh, I was born to be an artist. I want to draw paintings and play music. And I'm enjoying myself. But then let's suppose that your mother and your father have a car accident and they both pass. And now you are left as the head of the family and you have another 6 brothers, and somebody has to provide for the family. And this individual now, who has a talent for music and painting or drawing, or whatever, has what? Has this shop, which is the family business for generations. So what is his wadharma now? Is to play music as he was doing up to now, because the family was providing everything he needed. Or what is going, which wadharma is going to override the other? It's going to be his duty, his role to step in and provide for the family, sacrificing his natural tendencies as an artist. You understand the importance of one's wadharma as the the duty, the role that we expect to play within our circumstantial dharma, karma, you understand? Depending on the circumstance, we are called to act, and our natural program or tendencies or talents have to be, put in second plan, and we need to take our primary duty here, to do what's right, correct, even if it goes against to my natural conditioning, my swadharma as a talent. You understand? This is the tradition, and it makes total sense to me. You understand? So one could say like, oh no, I live, my 6 brothers and sisters, some of them are small, and I go away because I want to play music. No, this is not right. This is not one swadharma. Okay. So now, what is the swadharma of the 6, 7 of us here? What is our true role, or not role, duty or role to play? What we are here for? We are here evidently for self-knowledge and moksha. You understand? That is the most basic thing. And now I'm going to bring about another example that's going to describe this. Papaji, when he met Ramana Maharaj made it possible for him to understand that the only thing that was going to satisfy him, it was to understand the true nature of Nirguna Brahman and stop playing with Krishna and all these other Saguna gods. You understand? So he understood that after a little bit of reluctance, and then he felt free, and he did not want to get out of the ashram. So Papaji told him, no, because this is the truth, this is my dharma, is to live here at your feet, and I know that this is the only reality, and you are my guru, and the mountain is Shiva, and so on. None of that is real, and so. And Ramana Maharaj said, no, you have to follow your dharma. No, my dharma is to be enlightened, is to be at your feet. No, your dharma is to go there and to save your family, because there is a conflict at the border with what is Pakistan now, and people are being killed right and left. So he literally pushed Papaji to go back, to risk his life, to go there in the conflict area zone, to save his family, and not only to feed them. Papaji got trapped there. He never managed to go back to Tiruvannamalai. And he had to become a provider to the family for decades. And he said that it was mostly women, because all men was killed. He was working, work to provide. And all that women, all they want to do was oil and flour to fry pakoras. And he said he was desperate because they used to consume so much oil, frying oil. You understand? So what kind of swadharma was his swadharma? It was to provide for his family. Another example, you probably heard me saying this story. one Sunday afternoon, I went to visit Papaji in Lucknow. After 3 years, I was there. And then out of the blue, Papaji began playing with my son, and he asked him, so, in which school he's studying? I said, oh no, Papa, he's doing private lessons of mathematics and English, and that's all. I don't want him to bring him to school. And he said, no, 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 no. You have to go. What? You have to go. Pack up and go back to Brazil and stay with him there. Brazil is a dangerous place. There is a lot of crime, and look after your child, because this is your dharma. I say, no, my dharma is my enlightenment. They say, no, 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 no. Your dharma is to look after your son. You understand? So what was my dharma at that point? It took me a month or two to digest, to process and accept that. And I left Lucknow with a broken heart, but I felt that it was painful, but I had to do my swadharma. Why? I brought a child. Now I have a role as a father, and I had to change things here and begin giving him education and protection and security, and so something like that. You understand? So swadharma, it has to be considering the context of our vasanas, which brings about our natural predispositions or tendencies or talents to do certain things. But most importantly is our circumstantial duties as our parabda comes unfold. You know? A lot of people do not like this version of Swadharma.
Cloudy out.
Huh?
Well, yeah, it's funny.
I'm just thinking about how fortunate we are.
Like fog or something.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ruth is talking to us or she's talking to somebody else over there. Lynn, what are you saying?
It's amazing in this vast sea of jivas that it doesn't appear to me to be to do any merit of this jiva to have found Vedanta. But wow, just amazing.
Yeah. We don't understand the karmic law based on cause and effect, actions and results is so complex that it's difficult for us to understand, to have the vision of that equation. But definitely it is a meritorious or demeritorious system. We always get what we deserve, and we get it because because it's a manifestation of our efforts, to grow, elevate ourselves, and purify and so on. So we are all fortunate to be in the Vedanta bus, as we say.
It takes a lot of contemplation is how I'm left feeling. I need to contemplate all this because I get caught up in, like Lynn was saying, it's like, whoa, can't this stop for a minute? I need to catch my breath kind of feeling, But I feel like it's just, I need to contemplate more.
On what? On our meetings, on what transpires in these meetings, what is said in these meetings, or what?
Well, on
the teachings?
on my understanding of what all this is, basically. Yeah, my understanding of how can I stop the rush and things going so fast to understand our part in this.
Yeah, it begins with slowing down, definitely. Slowing down, making room for this study, reflection, contemplation. You understand?
Let's go back to creating the sattvic environment.
Definitely.
Yeah, and how do we do that? And those are actions that we're taking, but we have to fertilize the soil so it can receive the seed.
Absolutely, yeah. And the way we do that is simple, but it scares some people because we have a certain amount of energy. You know, if we put 50 hours of energy in working, making money, and this and that, and then we have to pull some of that time, energy, and dedicate to other things. And some people, they may feel like, oh no, this is a bit shaky, you know. But we need to make room for this work to take place, you know. And understanding that there is no real security, it helps, you know. So we work so hard for security, and we want to be, you know, make a lot of money and create assets and properties and investments so that we feel secure. And then in the process, what happens to us? Our mind gets tired, sick, worn out, the body gets sick. And then in the end, we spend most of everything that we have saved as a means of security, trying to recover our body, mind, health condition. And very often we end up without our wealth and without our body, mind, health condition, you understand? So the key is moderation, and we need to live in this as householders and travel this journey of self-inquiry and self-knowledge, while we provide for ourselves and the people who depend on us, but with moderation. So because the most valuable people thing is this spiritual growth, spiritual knowledge, you know.
Yeah, I've been thinking of it so much as balance, and finding the balance in our lives that we can bring the spiritual development into it. And it's I look at what a blessing it is for people early in their lives to understand that and bring spiritual development into the equation versus getting in the samsara cycle of seeking happiness in material objects. So maybe the healthiest people are those who have the spiritual development as a balance. It's part of what we do, and it's integrated in, or maybe it's even it's in the substrata. So I think it's important.
But we can never tell, David, because, for example, I had this spiritual vasana. I left everything. I left my profession in Brazil when I was young to become a spiritual seeker. And I dragged my son from the age of 1-2 years old around the world. And he got influenced by these ashrams around Osho Rajneesh for 10 years, and later on around Papaji. And when I took him, Papaji asked me to take him back. He went to the world, and very quickly he developed a huge interest for materialism. So nowadays he has no interest in any of this. He wants materialism, you know. So you never know. Huh? So
That's a very strange prarabdha, your son.
yeah.
You know, in terms of balance, I thought at one point I will just give the day to ishwara and then get up very early and start study, you know, and then give the day to ishwara and then go back, and that's how I struck the balance for a long time until I became retired and had more time and etc. So yeah, it changes.
Yeah.
Your ability to do this changes with your circumstance and your prarabdha.
Yeah. Setting the day from the very early hours of the day. It's very important because you set your mind, you bring God, you bring your spiritual goal as your main goal. Your main goal is not to resolve problems and accomplish things, and that is also in there, but your main goal is to live a fructitious day of of love and development and contribution to the field and then solving the problems in a spiritual, beautiful way. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful, huh? To live a life like this? I find it a blessing to have opportunity to meet with people like you, to talk about these the highest values of life, Yeah. Because the ignorance is so pervasive, widespread, and everybody's running, moved by material goals. Yeah. So I better go back because my family here is going to go out to have a lunch.
Yeah.
And we meet next Monday, right? Or what? Monday is a good day, huh? Okay. So we meet next Monday. We carry on with our Viveka Chudamani. I love you. Merry Christmas. Good days ahí for you too. You all. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
All Yanis in our group. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Peace on earth.
So Satwa holiday. So,
Okie dokie.
right.
We meet again. And so I'm going to record this one. With this internet, it's going to take 10 minutes, I bet.
Yeah.
There where I am, I had to leave it on the whole night to upload.
Oh.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Love,
Ciao.
love, love. Hugs, hugs.